Lena crouched behind the rusted remains of a half-collapsed building, her small hands clutching the worn pistol she had traded a few hours ago. The metal felt cold in her grip, a reminder of the harsh life humans had been forced into under the alien occupation. She had given up some of her most valuable skills, her shooting ability to get a handful of rationed food for her family. Her stomach ached from hunger, but her pride stung more. Her younger brother, Sam, peeked out from the doorway beside her, eyes wide. "Do you think it will be enough?" he whispered. Lena glanced at the meager bundle of food and nodded. "It has to be," she said softly. They couldn't afford to make mistakes. Every transaction with the aliens was a gamble, and humans always paid more than they received. The alien officer had laughed when she demonstrated her skill. He hadn't even looked impressed when Lena had lined up a perfect shot during the small exchange. His green-scaled face had twisted into a grin that didn't reach his cold, black eyes. "You think that is talent?" he had sneered. "Pathetic. You call this skill?" Lena had forced a smile, bowing slightly. She had learned quickly that the moment humans showed pride, the aliens exploited it. Now, in the quiet of the evening, Lena tested the air around her, listening for signs of patrols. The streets were empty, the alien soldiers resting or preparing for their next rounds of dominance. Lena's mind wandered to what she could have done with her full skill set. Her fingers itched for a gun, for the feel of recoil, the sound of a perfect shot. But she had made the trade, and that meant survival for her family tonight. She walked back to her small shelter, Sam trailing close behind. Their mother sat in the corner, wiping dirt from the floor as best as she could. Her father was gone, taken by the aliens weeks ago for refusing to work in one of their resource mines. Lena swallowed the anger rising in her throat. Humans had no power now, no way to fight, no weapon that could stand against alien strength. Or at least, that was what the invaders believed. The meal was small, barely enough for 2 people, let alone 4. Lena's mother handed the scraps around with shaking hands. "Eat slowly," she whispered. "We don't know when we will have more." Lena forced herself to chew, though her thoughts were elsewhere. She thought of the officer who had mocked her, and the general who would soon arrive in their sector. She remembered how he had laughed at human weakness, how he assumed that the girls and boys of Earth were incapable of posing any threat. As she ate, Lena began to plan. If humans could not overpower aliens in strength, perhaps they could outsmart them. If the Empire believed humans were weak, then humans could use that to their advantage. Lena had always been clever, and she had skills that the aliens could never fully understand. Every missed opportunity in her past had been a lesson, and now it was time to use those lessons. After the meal, Lena went outside. The sun had begun to set, casting long shadows across the ruins of the city. She moved silently through the streets, testing her reflexes with the pistol she had kept hidden. She aimed at broken signs, rusted metal containers, and old buildings. Each shot was precise, each movement deliberate. She imagined the alien soldiers watching, underestimating her, thinking she was weak. The thought made her smile. Night came, and the city grew darker, colder, and more dangerous. Lena returned to her shelter to find Sam already asleep, his small body curled beneath a thin blanket. She looked at her mother, who was trying to rest but could not stop thinking about their missing husband. Lena understood. Survival was not just about food, it was about hope, and hope was fragile when every day brought fear and hunger. She spent the next hours practicing. Every shot she took, every maneuver she perfected, was a promise to herself and her family. She would not remain weak. She would not allow the aliens to continue underestimating humans. Lena had seen what the Empire did to those who could not defend themselves, and she refused to let that happen to anyone she loved. A week passed, and rumors began to spread among the humans in her sector. Some had noticed Lena's skill, the way she could handle a pistol like she was born with it, the way her aim never faltered. Others whispered in fear and excitement, calling her a symbol of what humans could be if they dared to fight back. Lena did not boast. She knew that every small victory was hidden, that exposure too soon could bring deadly consequences. Yet, She could feel something growing among the humans, a spark, faint but real. Then the general arrived. His massive ship hovered over the city, casting a shadow that made every human shrink in fear. Soldiers poured out, moving with precision, scanning the ruins for any sign of defiance. Lena watched from a distance as the aliens walked the streets, mocking the humans openly. "Pathetic creatures," one of them hissed. "You call this life? Look at your children. Weak, scared, useless." Lena clenched her fists, her teeth grinding. She kept her head low, pretending to be as powerless as the Empire wanted her to appear. But inside, her mind raced. The general's arrogance was an opportunity. They believed themselves invincible, untouchable. Lena knew better. She had spent her life learning how to survive, how to see possibilities where others saw only obstacles. She began speaking quietly to other humans, teaching them small tricks: how to move silently, how to hide in shadows, how to remain unnoticed. Every little lesson was a preparation, a seed for what could grow into something greater. Lena became a secret leader, a mentor in the quiet corners of the ruined city. Her influence spread slowly, unnoticed by the aliens, who still laughed and mocked. One evening, Lena sat on the rooftop of a collapsed building, looking up at the stars. They were different here, brighter than she remembered as a child. She thought about what humans had lost, what they had endured, and what they could still become. Her hands ached from practice, but the ache was different. It was the ache of purpose. She would wait for the right moment, the moment when the Empire's arrogance would be their weakness. She imagined standing before the general, appearing small, weak, and unremarkable, and then showing him what humans were capable of. The thought made her pulse quicken. It was not just about survival anymore. It was about pride, intelligence, and courage. Humans were underestimated, yes. But Lena knew that underestimation was the greatest weapon they could have. Night after night, Lena trained. She tested new tactics, new strategies, imagining herself in impossible scenarios. She knew the Empire had technology humans could not match. But technology could not measure ingenuity, quick thinking, or courage. Every day she grew stronger, more confident, more certain that humans were not as weak as the aliens believed. Her family noticed the change in her. Her mother's eyes softened with hope when she saw Lena moving through the streets with confidence. Sam began to mimic her movements, practicing quietly when Lena wasn't looking. Even the other humans began to watch her, learning in secret, inspired by her persistence. Lena's small act of survival had become more than just a trade for food. It had become a promise of defiance, a symbol that humans could be more than the aliens expected. Then came the day when Lena first heard the general laugh in person. He was taller and more imposing than she had imagined, his armor glinting under the harsh sunlight. He walked among the ruins with confidence, mocking the humans openly. "Pathetic creatures," he barked. "Even your best efforts are useless. We will break you, and you will beg for mercy." Lena's heart beat fast, but she did not flinch. Inside, she was already planning. One day soon, she would show him. She would reveal that humans had a strength that could not be measured by muscle or weapon alone. That strength was ingenuity, courage, and determination. As the general left the sector, laughing at what he believed was human weakness, Lena stood in the shadows, a small smile forming on her face. They did not know her. They did not know what humans were capable of, but she did, and she would not wait forever. Lena's journey had only begun. She had traded some of her skills for survival, but the rest she kept hidden, ready for the day it would matter most. That day would come. And when it did, the Empire would learn that underestimating humans was the greatest mistake they could make. The morning sun cut through the ruined city, reflecting off the alien metal buildings that had been placed over the human streets. Lena moved carefully through the shadows, her senses alert. Today was not just another day of survival. Today, the aliens had announced a contest, one meant to humiliate humans and entertain the alien occupiers. It was called the Marksmanship Challenge. The humans had been gathered in a large, open courtyard that was once a bustling market. Now it was a makeshift arena, cordoned off with alien barriers and glowing devices that made the human skin crawl. The general had arrived again, flanked by his officers. His green scales glimmered under the sunlight, and his laugh echoed through the empty streets. "Show me your skills, humans," he sneered. "Show me why I should not crush every one of you where you stand." The human crowd shivered under the weight of his gaze. Lena stood among them, keeping her head low, hiding the spark of determination burning inside her. She could feel the eyes of others upon her, some full of hope, some full of fear. A few whispered, mentioning her name, the rumors of her skill. Lena ignored them. Now was not the time for attention. Now was the time for patience and precision. The contest began with small, simple targets. Alien observers expected clumsy attempts, messy shots that would barely hit a target, and they laughed as humans fumbled. Lena watched carefully, analyzing how the aliens had set up the arena. She noticed patterns, small irregularities, and the way the wind shifted. Her mind calculated every variable: distance, timing, recoil, and trajectory. When her turn came, Lena stepped forward. The aliens snickered at her small frame, the nervous look in her eyes, and her apparent hesitation. "Look at her," one officer hissed. "She seems almost afraid of the weapon." Pathetic. Lena took a deep breath, hiding her excitement. The crowd held its collective breath, unaware that what they were about to see would be different. She raised the pistol slowly, carefully aligning it with the first target. Her hands did not tremble. She imagined the alien laughter fading, replaced by disbelief. Her first shot was perfect, hitting the target dead center. The alien officers blinked, momentarily surprised. Lena moved to the next target, adjusting for the distance and the slight tilt of the platform. Every shot was precise, every movement calculated, yet she made it look effortless. The general laughed loudly at first, a deep, rolling sound that filled the arena. "It cannot be possible. Such precision. Surely, this is a trick." He leaned forward, his massive form casting a shadow over the humans. Lena ignored him. She did not shoot for the aliens' approval. She shot to prove a point to herself and to every human who had ever doubted their own strength. By the fifth target, whispers rippled through the crowd. Lena's shots were faster, more creative, and entirely unpredictable. She began using angles the aliens had never anticipated. The shots ricocheted off metal beams, hitting targets indirectly, demonstrating an understanding of physics that the alien spectators could not comprehend. The general's laughter slowed, turning into a sharp frown. His officers murmured among themselves. Lena's final challenge was the most difficult. The target was moving, suspended on a swinging platform, designed to mock the humans. Lena studied it carefully. She calculated its speed, its arc, and the timing of the swings. When she fired, the bullet hit perfectly, toppling the target with one clean shot. Silence fell over the arena. Even the general could not mask his surprise. The humans stared in awe, a mixture of hope and disbelief in their eyes. You are skilled," the general admitted finally, his voice tinged with something like respect or perhaps fear. "I underestimated you." Lena lowered her weapon, her calm demeanor unchanged. She had expected this. The aliens always underestimated humans, and that was their greatest mistake. The other humans looked at her differently now. Some with admiration, some with disbelief, but all with renewed hope. They had been waiting for proof that their species was not as weak as the Empire assumed. Lena had given them that proof without a single word, without a single boast. Her skill spoke louder than any argument could. After the contest, the humans returned to their shelters with a quiet sense of purpose. Lena moved through the streets, unnoticed, carrying her hidden pistol. She checked on Sam and her mother, who both looked at her with eyes full of pride. "You did it," her mother said softly. Lena shook her head. "We did it," she corrected. Survival and defiance were not individual efforts. Humans had to act together if they were to have any chance against the aliens. That night, Lena gathered a few trusted humans in a hidden corner of the city. They were young and old, skilled and inexperienced, but all willing to learn. Lena began teaching them. First, she showed them how to aim properly, how to calculate distance, and how to understand their surroundings. She emphasized observation, patience, and creativity. The humans were quick learners, eager to absorb every lesson. As days passed, Lena continued the secret training. She developed small drills and exercises, teaching humans to move silently, anticipate enemy movements, and use the environment to their advantage. She encouraged them to think differently, to turn their apparent weaknesses into strengths. The humans began to act with more confidence, their fear replaced by determination. Lena watched proudly as they improved. Meanwhile, the alien general remained unaware of the growing potential among the humans. He continued his oversight, confident in the Empire's superiority. He assumed Lena's display in the contest was an anomaly, a fluke. He laughed at human attempts to resist, oblivious to the seeds of rebellion quietly growing in the shadows. Lena knew better. Humans were not flukes. Humans were unpredictable, resourceful, and resilient. One evening, while the aliens rested, Lena and her small group tested a simple strategy. They moved through the ruins of a supply depot, carefully avoiding patrols. Lena demonstrated how to use cover, timing, and misdirection. She showed them how to strike quickly, collect supplies, and retreat without being seen. The humans executed the plan perfectly. Their success was small but significant. It proved that, even against superior technology, humans could survive and even thrive with intelligence and courage. The news of Lena's skill and the successful small raids began to spread quietly among the humans. Word reached even distant sectors. There was a girl who could shoot with perfect accuracy, who could teach others to fight cleverly, who represented the hidden strength of humanity. Lena did not seek recognition. She knew that the real power lay in preparation and unity, not fame. Still, the humans whispered her name with respect, and for the first time in a long while, hope began to take root. The general continued to patrol, unaware of the growing human confidence. He underestimated Lena, underestimated the humans, and assumed that their moment of skill in the contest was meaningless in the larger scale of the Empire. This arrogance, Lena knew, was the greatest advantage she had. The humans had learned patience, observation, and subtlety. The Empire had grown complacent, and complacency was fatal. Days later, another contest was announced, this time more complex, designed to further humiliate humans. Lena studied the arena, analyzing every detail. She encouraged the humans she trained to pay attention, to learn. They began to understand not just shooting, but strategy, observation, and the art of anticipation. Lena smiled quietly to herself. This was exactly what she had hoped for. Humans were learning, adapting, and proving that their value was more than physical strength. On the day of the new contest, the general watched again, confident in his power. Lena stood among the humans, calm and focused. She did not need to display all her skill immediately. She would wait for the perfect moment, then demonstrate to the Empire that underestimating humans was a mistake they would never forget. The first targets were simple. Humans struggled, some failing entirely. Lena's group observed, taking mental notes. Then it was her turn. She stepped forward, smaller and weaker in appearance than the alien observers expected, but inside, her mind raced, calculating every possibility. Her first shot hit the moving target flawlessly. Her second ricocheted off a metal beam to strike another. And the third shot completed an impossible sequence the aliens had not imagined. The arena erupted in stunned silence. Even the general, watching from above, could not hide his shock. He leaned closer to his officers, murmuring, "Impossible. She cannot be human." Lena lowered her weapon, her face calm. She had won the contest not for herself, but for every human who dared to dream that survival was possible, that defiance was worth the risk. The humans cheered quietly, their eyes wide with admiration. They had seen what Lena could do, and in her, they saw their own potential. Hope, once buried under fear and oppression, now flickered like a flame. Lena smiled inwardly. This was only the beginning. The Empire had not yet realized the power of underestimated humans. But they would, and when they did, it would be too late. The city had grown quieter at night, but the streets were never truly empty. Lena moved with her small group of humans, careful not to attract attention from alien patrols. Each step was deliberate, each shadow a potential hiding place. Her training sessions had expanded. She now worked with dozens of humans who had shown potential, teaching them not just to shoot, but to think like a team, to anticipate the enemy, and to trust their instincts. Lena's eyes scanned the city as they moved. Broken buildings, crumbling walls, and twisted metal structures formed a maze. To the aliens, the ruins were a sign of humanity's weakness. To Lena, they were a playground, a perfect environment to teach survival skills. She had learned that humans could turn disadvantage into strength if they paid attention and adapted quickly. Tonight, Lena had a specific goal. A small supply depot used by the aliens was lightly guarded. It contained food, water, and other resources the humans desperately needed. Lena had studied the patrol schedules for days, noting patterns, timing, and shifts in attention. Her plan was simple but required precision. Every step had to be executed exactly as she envisioned. Her team crouched behind a collapsed wall, waiting for her signal. Lena whispered instructions clearly and calmly. "Move when I give the word. Watch each other's backs. Do not hesitate. Every second counts." Her voice was firm, but encouraging. She had learned that fear could paralyze humans, but confidence could make them unstoppable. The first patrol passed without incident. Lena signaled her group forward. They moved silently, each person aware of the others, adjusting their movements to shadows and cover. Lena led the way, pistol ready but not drawn. She had taught them that stealth was often more powerful than force. Sometimes, the best shot was the one never fired. As they approached the depot, Lena noticed a patrol shifting unexpectedly. She paused, analyzing the change. It was minor, but enough to adjust their approach. Her heart beat steadily, not from fear, but from focus. Every decision mattered. Every second counted. She signaled a new route, and her team followed, trusting her judgment completely. Inside the depot, Lena instructed 2 humans to quietly disable the alarm systems. Others prepared to secure supplies. Lena moved to cover the entrance, scanning for unexpected danger. She had taught them well. The humans worked in perfect coordination, their movements silent and precise. Within minutes, they had collected enough food and supplies for several families. Just as they were finishing, a distant shout broke the quiet. A patrol had returned earlier than expected. Lena did not panic. She had anticipated this. "Split into pairs," she ordered. "We move through the west alley. Keep low. Do not make noise." Her group followed. Every movement practiced, rehearsed, and calculated. They disappeared into the ruins like shadows. The patrol passed by, unaware. Lena exhaled quietly, relief mingling with pride. The humans looked at her with wide eyes, realizing what they had just accomplished. A small group, ordinary humans, had stolen supplies from the Empire without detection. Lena smiled. This was more than survival. This was the beginning of resistance. Over the next several weeks, Lena's team grew. Word of her skills and leadership spread quietly among humans in other sectors. She trained each newcomer, teaching marksmanship, stealth, strategy, and observation. Humans discovered talents they had never known existed. Some were clever with gadgets, improvising tools and traps. Others were fast, agile, and capable of scouting without being seen. Lena nurtured these abilities, showing them that the Empire's power was not absolute. The aliens remained unaware. The general continued to mock humans publicly, confident in their weakness. He believed Lena's skill had been a rare fluke, and he underestimated her influence. This arrogance became the humans' greatest advantage. Lena used it, teaching her group to act with boldness, while the aliens remained complacent. One night, Lena gathered the team for a critical lesson. "We are stronger than they think," she said, "not because we are bigger, faster, or stronger, but because we are clever. We watch, we plan, and we act when they least expect it. Remember, the Empire does not anticipate courage. They only anticipate weakness, and we are not weak." Her words ignited a spark in the humans. They nodded, understanding that survival was not enough. They wanted to prove that humans could resist, and perhaps even win. Their operations became bolder. Small raids disrupted supply lines, captured equipment, and returned resources to human settlements. Lena carefully ensured that each success remained secret, teaching her group to cover their tracks. The humans grew confident, learning to rely on one another and trust their instincts. Fear was replaced by purpose. Hunger was replaced by hope. Lena's careful guidance turned ordinary survivors into capable fighters, their skills amplified by intelligence and teamwork. The aliens occasionally noticed disruptions but could not trace them to humans. The Empire had assumed that humans were incapable of strategy. Every minor victory only strengthened Lena's resolve and emboldened the human resistance. Lena realized that intelligence and courage could outweigh brute force if applied with precision and patience. Lena also learned about the humans themselves. She discovered hidden leadership among some, courage among others, and determination that could not be broken. She nurtured these qualities, emphasizing unity and trust. She showed them that even the smallest human could make a difference if they acted wisely. Their collective potential began to grow beyond anything the aliens had predicted. The general, still confident, announced another human contest. Lena knew this would be a test, not just for her skill, but for the morale of the humans. She used it as a teaching moment. "We will participate," she told her team, "not to prove ourselves to them, but to prove to ourselves what we can do. Every lesson we have learned, every skill we have gained, we will use. Let them laugh, and then let them see the truth." The contest began with the humans performing poorly, as expected. The aliens laughed, believing that human skill remained limited to occasional flukes. Lena remained calm, observing, calculating. She waited for the precise moment to act. When it came, her shots were clever, innovative, and flawless. Her team watched, learning from her demonstration. The aliens were shocked. The general's laughter faded, replaced by disbelief. "Impossible," he muttered. Lena lowered her weapon calmly, her face serene. The humans erupted quietly in admiration. After the contest, Lena's team began to expand their operations. She divided her group into smaller units, each capable of conducting independent raids and intelligence-gathering missions. Lena emphasized observation, patience, and careful planning. Every operation became a lesson in strategy, teaching humans how to think ahead and anticipate challenges. Humans began to see that courage was more than bravery. It was intelligence, foresight, and unity. Every success, no matter how small, reinforced their belief in themselves. Lena's leadership transformed fear into determination, and hunger into purpose. She taught them that humans could challenge the Empire not by matching power, but by outthinking it. Weeks turned into months. Lena's operations grew more ambitious. She orchestrated the capture of larger supplies, coordinated multiple teams simultaneously, and planned escape routes that seemed impossible. Each success built morale and strengthened trust among humans. Lena became a symbol, though quietly, of the potential that humans possessed. Her courage inspired not just her team, but others who had lost hope under the Empire's rule. One night, Lena stood on a rooftop, watching the lights of alien patrols move below. Sam ran up beside her, now more confident, more aware of their potential. "Do you think we can really beat them one day?" he asked, his voice small but hopeful. Lena placed a hand on his shoulder. "We don't need to beat them all at once," she said. "We only need to prove that humans are stronger than they think. That is enough to change everything." The city below seemed quiet, but Lena knew it was alive with potential. Humans were learning, adapting, and growing. The Empire had underestimated them, and that mistake would shape the future. Lena smiled quietly, knowing that every small victory, every lesson, and every courageous act was a step toward something greater, and she knew the time would come when humans would show the aliens the full measure of their strength. Lena had sparked the beginning of something that could not be ignored. She had taken ordinary survivors, hungry and fearful, and turned them into capable fighters. They had learned that intelligence, courage, and unity were weapons that the Empire could not fully comprehend or control. Lena's journey was far from over. She knew greater challenges were ahead, and the general's arrogance would not last forever. But she had laid the foundation. The humans were no longer merely surviving, they were beginning to fight back, and each day brought them closer to proving that humanity's strength could never be measured by size or power alone. And as Lena gazed at the stars above, she realized that this was just the beginning. Humanity had learned the first lesson: that courage, intelligence, and the will to survive could defy even the most powerful empire in the galaxy. And with each lesson, each victory, and each daring act, they were writing a story that the aliens would never forget. The city had changed. Once broken and silent, it now pulsed with a quiet energy. Humans moved through the streets with purpose, no longer afraid to glance at alien patrols. They knew their strength was not in size or power, but in intelligence, courage, and unity. Lena walked among them, her eyes sharp, her mind planning. Today was the day the Empire would learn the cost of underestimating humanity. The general had grown wary. Small raids, stolen supplies, and the skillful actions of Lena and her group had begun to irritate the alien command. He could no longer dismiss the humans as weak, yet he did not know their full potential. He assumed he could crush them with force alone, confident that technology and numbers would prevail. Lena smiled at the thought. They were about to prove him wrong. Her team gathered in the shadows of a ruined factory, preparing for what Lena called the final operation of the sector. They were no longer small, fearful survivors. They were a coordinated unit, trained in strategy, marksmanship, stealth, and intelligence gathering. Lena divided them into teams, assigning precise roles: scouts, sharpshooters, distraction units, and supply carriers. Every move was calculated to minimize risk and maximize efficiency. Lena addressed the group quietly but firmly. "Today, we show the Empire that humans are not what they believe. We strike carefully, but boldly. Every plan we've practiced leads to this moment. Trust each other, and trust yourselves. We are stronger than they know." Her words inspired confidence. No one hesitated. They were ready. The target was a heavily guarded alien supply hub, the heart of the sector's operations. Lena had studied the patrol routes, analyzed the guard rotations, and identified weaknesses in the security system. Her team had rehearsed the plan countless times. Yet, she reminded them, improvisation would be necessary. Aliens were unpredictable, and the humans would need to think faster than their enemy. Night fell, casting long shadows across the city. Lena led her team to the outskirts of the hub. Scouts reported positions, and everyone adjusted silently. Lena's heart beat steadily, not from fear, but from focus. She could see the patrols moving like clockwork, unaware of the human presence. The first phase began. Distraction units created small diversions, setting off controlled noise and light in areas far from the hub. Alien guards rushed toward the disturbances, leaving gaps in their defenses. Lena's sharpshooters took precise positions, targeting alarms and communication devices. Every shot was clean, every movement deliberate. Inside the hub, teams infiltrated the building. Lena herself moved through the shadows, pistol drawn, observing every detail. She guided her team with quiet signals and whispers, adjusting plans as small obstacles appeared. Humans moved with surprising confidence, their teamwork flawless. Lena felt a surge of pride. They were executing everything she had taught them, and more. An unexpected patrol approached from the north. Lena assessed quickly. "Split and circle," she ordered. The humans divided silently, blending with shadows and cover. The patrol passed without detecting them. Every successful maneuver strengthened the humans' belief in themselves. The Empire had never faced opponents like this, opponents who were not afraid, who thought ahead, and who acted with precision. Inside the main storage room, teams collected supplies. Food, water, medical kits, and even weapons were loaded onto carts designed for quick movement. Lena coordinated timing carefully. Extraction had to be smooth, or the entire operation would be compromised. Humans moved efficiently, their actions synchronized. It was a dance of strategy, courage, and skill. The general, observing from a high vantage point, began to suspect something. He called in reinforcements, ordering patrols to sweep the area. Lena anticipated this. "Now," she whispered. Distraction units initiated a secondary series of diversions, drawing the reinforcements away from key exits. Humans moved swiftly, slipping through gaps and shadows, unseen and unstoppable. One of the alien patrols discovered an empty corridor and pursued, but Lena had already set a trap. A series of pulleys and weighted obstacles made by the humans from scrap materials collapsed in perfect sequence, blocking the patrol and forcing them to retreat. Lena watched with satisfaction. Human ingenuity had once again outsmarted alien technology. The extraction phase was critical. Lena led her team through a maze of ruined streets, carrying the supplies safely. Scouts ran ahead, signaling when paths were clear. Sharpshooters covered the retreat, ready to act if any alien forces discovered them. The humans had trained for this moment. Each member knew their role, their importance, and their strength. When they reached the safe zone, hidden in a network of underground tunnels, Lena allowed herself a brief smile. Supplies were secure. Not a single human had been captured. Every lesson, every skill, every cautious plan had been validated. The humans had succeeded against impossible odds, but Lena knew this was only the beginning. The Empire would not ignore these losses. The general would be furious, and reprisals would come. Humans had to prepare not just for survival, but for open resistance. Lena gathered her team again. "We have proven ourselves tonight," she said, "but we cannot stop. Every action, every lesson, every improvement makes us stronger. They believe humans are weak. Let's continue to prove them wrong." The humans began to expand their operations further. Lena trained new recruits, shared tactics, and organized intelligence networks. Humans learned to read alien patterns, anticipate strategies, and use creativity to overcome brute force. Lena emphasized that courage alone was not enough. Intelligence and planning were equally important. As the Empire grew more aggressive in their crackdowns, Lena's team adapted. They avoided unnecessary conflicts, striking strategically to weaken the aliens' resources and morale. They discovered alien weaknesses that technology could not hide. Overconfidence, arrogance, and lack of adaptability. Lena taught her humans to exploit these flaws. Word of Lena's leadership and skill spread among human settlements. She became a symbol, quietly inspiring others to resist and innovate. Communities began to organize, sharing information, coordinating small attacks, and protecting one another. The Empire's control weakened not because of brute force, but because humans had learned to outthink them. One night, the general personally arrived in the sector, furious at the continued disruptions. He demanded the humans be brought to him. Lena knew confrontation was inevitable. She planned carefully. "We will meet them," she said to her team, "but not as victims. We will show them what humanity is capable of. Stay calm, stay focused, and trust what you have learned." The general entered a wide plaza with a small group of heavily armed soldiers. Humans gathered, appearing small, unarmed, and ordinary. The general laughed. Assuming he had cornered the rebels, Lena stepped forward, calm and composed. She did not draw a weapon. Her eyes scanned the general and his officers, observing, analyzing, calculating. Then, she raised her hand. A signal to her team. In a coordinated series of movements, humans activated traps, blocked escape routes, and used improvised devices to disable alien weapons temporarily. Sharpshooters and scouts moved swiftly, striking at precise moments. The general's soldiers were confused and off balance. Unable to predict the humans' actions, Lena's team did not fight recklessly. Every move was calculated, every shot precise, every action purposeful. Humans worked together with intelligence and creativity, exploiting the general's overconfidence. Even the general realized too late that he had underestimated them. In a climactic moment, Lena demonstrated her own skill. She used the environment, angles, and timing to disarm a group of elite soldiers, showing the general that humans could outthink and outmaneuver superior technology. The soldiers hesitated, unsure how to respond. Lena's calm precision contrasted sharply with the chaos the aliens expected. Finally, the general was forced to retreat temporarily, humiliated and shocked. He had assumed humans were weak, predictable, and incapable. Lena and her team had proven otherwise. Humans had survived, succeeded, and gained confidence. The sector was not free, but humanity had shown its resilience, courage, and intelligence. Lena stood among her people, exhausted but triumphant. She looked at her team, at the humans she had trained, and saw not fear, but pride. Every small lesson, every raid, every plan had built something greater. A belief in themselves. Lena knew that this was only the beginning. Humans had learned that they could challenge the Empire not by matching strength, but by using intelligence, courage, and unity. The general would return, and challenges would continue. But humanity now had hope, organization, and skill. They were no longer merely surviving, they were fighting, learning, and proving that they could defy even the most powerful empire in the galaxy. Lena gazed at the night sky. The stars looked brighter than ever, filled with possibilities. Humans had taken the first steps toward reclaiming their place in the universe. Lena knew the journey ahead would be long, dangerous, and uncertain. But she also knew that humans were stronger than anyone, even the Empire, had imagined. And with every lesson, every strategy, and every courageous act, humanity would continue to rise. Lena had traded skills for survival once, but now she had created something far greater. A legacy of courage, intelligence, and defiance that could never be underestimated. The Empire had laughed, mocked, and doubted them. But the humans had survived, adapted, and fought back. Lena smiled. This was the moment when humanity proved itself. Not through brute force, but through determination, creativity, and the unbreakable spirit that no alien could ever take away.